Good Saturday morning, everybody. Welcome into the Auburn pregame show brought to you by Medical Properties Trust. I'm your host, Simone Eli, alongside Tom Green with AL.com, Auburn beat reporter, here with us this morning as the Tigers coming off the bye week and now preparing for Arkansas, less than 2 hours away from kickoff. Tom is joining us live from the press box right now. Tom, a lot going on where you are. What is the energy like at Jordan-Hare Stadium right now?
It's pretty quiet right now. I mean, it's a little chilly today, early morning kickoff coming off the bye week. So, I think people are going to be trickling in closer to kickoff. So we'll see how that goes.
We will see. Arkansas about a 3.5-point favorite in this game, which is not really shocking for the state of where Auburn is right now as a program, Tom, but this is a team that has lost to Auburn for the last several weeks. I think the last 6 in a row or something have gone to Auburn. So when you look at this matchup and you think about Arkansas being favored in this game, you think about where Auburn is as a program right now, Brian Harsin, all the things. What kind of comes to your mind about this game being an opportunity for the Tigers, but really kind of a must-win situation, like we've said almost every single week, I feel like.
Yeah, like you said, this is a series that Auburn has generally dominated for much of the last decade, 6 in a row. I think they only have one loss since 2012 in this series, and during that 6-game winning streak, they're winning by an average margin of 29 points a game. Yeah. So this is an Arkansas team that Auburn has historically been good at, even when it's been down years, so to speak, for Auburn. Coming off a bye week, obviously both teams are coming off a bye week, but coming off a bye week against a team that you have traditionally dominated. And you look at the schedule heading into this home stretch, it's kind of now or never for this Auburn team right here if they want to turn things around. This is, probably the most winnable game still left on their schedule because it's a team that they are more talented than on paper, a team that, they've had success against. And, they've had a week to refresh and try to set things straight. So we'll see how they respond.
Yeah, I feel like this is not the first time I have heard you say all of the things that you just said. That we're more talented than the team on paper, that it's an opportunity, it's a must-win game, it's now or never. I honestly feel like we're broken records, but this is true. This is the name of the game for Auburn right now. I'm not trying to pile on necessarily for Auburn fans, but it's really just the reality. These are two teams that are in the bottom of the SEC West, Tom. And when we talk about Arkansas, Arkansas, I think, was ranked like in the top 10. I know they were in the top 25 early in the year, like a month ago, September. So they've kind of not really either met expectations or really fallen off from where we kind of thought Arkansas was going to be maybe going into this season.
Yeah, they kind of hit a rough patch there after a hot start, but they had a losing streak of their own that they were able to snap before the bye week with that big road win at BYU in non-conference play. So they've got a little bit more momentum coming into this game, than Auburn, which is riding a 3-game losing streak in SEC play, and it's really fortunate to not be on a 5-game losing streak because you look back to that Missouri overtime win.
Yes, no doubt about that. Let's talk quickly X's and O's a little bit. Arkansas's rushing attack, 9th in the country, has been impressive. With guys like Raheem Sanders, obviously their quarterback is impressive. When you look at what they can do on the ground in the run game, how important is it for Auburn to contain and really kind of revert back to this Auburn defense we've seen way back in the day and not the Auburn run defense that we've seen as of late?
Yeah, that's kind of been the story for Auburn most of this season, really. They have one of the worst run defenses in the country right now, giving up 204 yards a game on the ground. They just gave up 450 last time out against Ole Miss. Against Power 5 competition, they're giving up like 260 yards per game on the ground. And that is a bad formula when you are welcoming a team that, like you said, is top 10 in the country in rushing. But not only are they top 10 in the country in rushing with the SEC's leading rusher with a quarterback who can contribute to the run game, but they run the ball more than anybody other than the service academies who run the triple option. This is a team that is going to try to run it down your throat. Yes. And when your run defense is struggling like Auburn's has, that can be a recipe for disaster. So, Auburn's got to, fill their gaps. They got to not miss tackles like they did 2 weeks ago against Ole Miss when they had like 20 missed tackles. Yeah. Hopefully that week off gave them a chance to kind of correct some things.
Yeah, if you're just tuning in, this is the Auburn pregame show brought to you by Medical Properties Trust. Auburn hosts Arkansas, kickoff at 11 a.m., about 90 minutes away now at Jordan-Hare Stadium. It'll be on SEC Network. Tom, there of course, covering the game as always. Tom, it's been a very interesting week. I feel like we say this every week too for Auburn.
For sure.
The drama, it's just kind of like changing chapters for Brian Harsin and the situation going on at Auburn. This week it was about transfers, red shirt situations. Can you shed some light on exactly what is going on this week?
Yeah, I mean they've had 4 players enter the transfer portal this week, which coming off the bye week, seems a little bit of a surprise. One of those players left the team before the bye week, but kind of became official. But you're losing depth along the defensive line in Zacchaeus Walker, even though they haven't rotated as much up front this season as we kind of expected them to. And, Zacchaeus didn't have as big of a role as probably a lot of people thought he might coming into the season. Landon King, who all through the offseason, everybody thought that he was going to be a real threat in that passing game, and just has not really been able to carve out a role. He decided to enter his name into the transfer portal too because he wanted to try to redshirt this year and preserve a year of eligibility because he wasn't really satisfied with the role that he was playing.
Sure.
880 Diamond, never saw the field here, but he's one of those underrated cornerbacks coming out of Mobile that Auburn has kind of had a string of success with guys like that. You think about Roger McCreary, you think about Nehemiah Pritchett. A lot of people thought he was going to be kind of that next guy in line to kind of develop in that manner, and just never saw the field here. So he's gone too. It's just been a really weird week for that to happen. I can kind of see it from both points of view. If you're Brian Harsin, if a guy's healthy, you want them contributing in some manner. And if you're a player and you're not satisfied with your role, especially in kind of the current climate of player empowerment, where they can control where they want to go, when they want to go with the transfer portal and all that, you understand them wanting to look out for what's best for themselves. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. And I don't necessarily think anybody is in the wrong either way, and I can see both points of view.
Tom, I want to get your opinion. Is this a sign that maybe Brian Harsin is putting his foot down against, hey, players really getting to dictate what they want to do within the Auburn program, or do you think this is more of a sign of there being chaos kind of behind the scenes as much as there is chaos in front of out for the public to see as well? I mean, how do you view this? I'm not going to say a positive for Brian Harsin necessarily, but is he trying to manage the program for the future, or do you think he is aware of maybe what his near future really could look like if Auburn decides to go a different direction?
I think it's one of those things where sorry, I completely lost my train of thought there.
Well, I guess I'm just wondering, is it a sign that Auburn or that Brian Harsin is trying to move in the right direction with Auburn? Obviously, he's not trying to down the program, or is it more of a sign of chaos behind the scenes for the Tigers?
I think it's one of those things that it just feels amplified because of the situation that Auburn is in. When things are going bad, if something happens, it makes it look worse.
Yeah.
I don't think people will be making as big a deal about this if Auburn was, let's say, 5-2 or 6-1 at this point. It's just attrition. Attrition happens to every team on every roster. It just so happens that when your team is 3-4, riding a 3-game losing streak. There's been questions about the coach since February, and kind of the future of the program. Every little thing that goes wrong is going to make it look worse, and I think that's just kind of the situation that it is right now for Auburn.
Definitely. Let's talk about the Auburn offense right now. Robbie Ashford at moments has really shined bright, and at moments has really been frustrating. I feel like that's kind of the name of the game for Auburn offensively, kind of through the Bo Nix era as well. What is the outlook for Robbie Ashford? His position, is TJ Finley coming back from injury ever? What is the latest that you know about the quarterback position?
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be Robbie's show right now. I think we kind of got a glimpse of that against Ole Miss when he struggled early on, and they brought TJ in, and TJ, lost the ball on a strip sack on, I think his third play in the game, and we just didn't see him again. So I think they're entrusting Robbie to kind of get things straight, but they know that if he struggles with turnovers, which he has this season, I mean, he's fumbled it a lot, hasn't always lost all of them, but it's just been an issue with the fumbles and the interceptions. I wouldn't be surprised to see them turn to TJ again. Maybe kind of help Robbie get his head on straight after some struggles like that. But I think right now they're going to ride with Robbie and kind of see what he does, just because the offensive line hasn't been the steadiest this season. What he's been able to bring with his legs has really helped. The most success that they've had in the passing game has often been on plays where things have kind of broken down and he's had to buy time before being able to get some chunk yardage downfield. And I think obviously that certainly opens up things with the run game too, like we saw 2 weeks ago against Ole Miss when they ran for 300 yards.
Yep. Finally, here on the Auburn pregame show, what's looking ahead for Auburn? Tom, you talked about this a little bit at the top of the show. The road does not get any easier. If there's a winnable game, this is it. Then they're at Mississippi State, at home against Texas A&M, at home against Western Kentucky, who at times has played well this year. And then, of course, the Iron Bowl. Like you said, it is kind of now or never a little bit for this team. What do you view this game in terms of what the next month looks like for Auburn?
Yeah, I think if Auburn wants to make a bowl this season, that path starts today. They need to beat Arkansas. Mississippi State's a team that has been very good this year at times. They've had a couple of losses in there too, but that offense, it can be very dangerous. Especially on the road in that environment. Texas A&M, we know the struggles that they've had, but there's no shortage of talent on that roster. And that's a team that dominated Auburn at the line of scrimmage last year. Western Kentucky, that should be a win for Auburn, but again, that's another team that they can put up some points. That can be a concern. And then obviously the Iron Bowl. I mean, Alabama's a machine. They've got that loss to Tennessee, but they've had their own issues this year too. But on paper, that's going to be Auburn's toughest game remaining this season. So I do think that there is a path to a bowl game, but I think that path has to be paved today.
Yep, no doubt about that. Looking around the SEC, Arkansas, Auburn, obviously. Florida, Georgia is the 2:30 game. Missouri, South Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Alabama on the bye week this week. Tom, if you had to just put your finger on one key to the game before we let you go, obviously kickoff right around the corner. One key to the game for Auburn to be successful, what would it be tonight this morning against Arkansas?
They have to contain the run. If the run defense that we've seen the last 2 or 3 weeks shows up, then it's going to be a long afternoon for Auburn. But if they can do something to kind of disrupt Raheem Sanders and KJ Jefferson in that run game, I think they have a pretty good chance.
We will see kickoff set for 11 a.m. on the Plains. Arkansas at Auburn today. It'll be on the SEC Network if you are not making it out to Jordan-Hare Stadium. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Auburn Pregame Show, brought to you by Medical Properties Trust. Tom, appreciate your time. And, guys, have a great college football Saturday.